President. There's a growing concern among farmers and landowners regarding the impact of ash dieback on roadside trees. There are potential safety risks of the trees themselves, and then the challenges of safely felling infected trees. And farmers would potentially need to hire tree specialists to properly assess the trees on their land and to safely remove impacted ash. But there isn't currently a financial support for the management of roadside ash trees. Will you provide it to, Minister? And actually, I think, I'm not sure, Ciarán, if I should declare an interest because we have forestry on my family farm, although I don't think the particular question is about roadside, and I don't think we'd be availing of any funding for that.
Thank you, Deputy Minister.
Thank you. Thank you, Deputy. I suppose your question actually specifically didn't relate to roadside trees, but it is an absolutely significant element of it. And I think, as I said earlier, I think about a quarter of our trees, whether they're in hedges or just out in the countryside, are ash in Ireland. So ash dieback is having a very significant impact, not only to plantation owners, but in the wider countryside. And I think we're going to see I think quite a significant visual change on what our landscape is going to look like, sadly, over the next number of years. So you will be aware of the supports we have in place for farmers with plantation ash in terms of the RUS scheme, and we have increased the supports for that this year. You know, we've introduced a de minimis scheme as well for farmers to apply while we're still waiting for the new forestry programme to be approved. I suppose in relation to roadside trees, I mean, that is the responsibility of the landowner themselves. But saying that, we have roadside trees along, you know, main national roads. That would be the responsibility of the transport sector. And then I think, you know, I think we do need to look at it. I think there is something in evaluating how we can support, you know, farmers and landowners not only on their own farms, but what we do, and whether there's some sort of replacement process as well. Are we going to plant trees in the place, you know, to replace them? Because I think we are going to see a significant change in the landscape, and I think certainly I read recently about a scheme in the UK where they support, where UK landowners can come together and, you know, apply for grant support to manage those dying trees. So, you know, I think there could be something in that we could look at here.
Looking into it, I think the schemes to date, when the concerns I'm hearing from farmers and landowners is that there just needs to be kind of more support in relation to that. In all likelihood, like you said, ash dieback will cause the death of the majority of ash trees in the country over the next 2 decades. And that will impact on roadside trees and increase the risk of falling branches in trees. That presents a kind of clear public concern. Landowners are obliged under the 1993 Roads Act to ensure that roadside trees do not present a danger, which means they ultimately have financial responsibility to manage roadside ash trees and pay for the services of professionals and consultants and contractors to carry out inspections. And many of us just don't have the skills, I think, to assess that situation or the expertise. Some of the work can only be completed by professionals, meaning that farmers have no choice but to employ them. I know some farm organisations are calling for a financial support scheme for farmers to manage that issue. Is that something that is being looked into, or is it a provision of expertise or advice?
Thank you, Deputy. I think in relation to supports, I mean, again, I suppose the responsibility for the trees will vary based on wherever they're positioned, and I think probably we do need to look a bit more cross-departmentally. You know, local authorities might have a role to play here, Department of Transport might have a role to play here, Department of Agriculture may well. I mean, our focus has been on those plantation ash issues, where those, I think, in the region of 15 or 16,000 hectares of ash were planted, and now are all affected by ash dieback. So that's where our focus has been, and I accept that not everyone is happy with the scheme, but quite a significant number of farmers have applied for the RUS scheme and have been satisfied with it. But again, we just keep that under continual examination. And, you know, I keep it under watch. But I think the wider landscape, ash trees in the wider landscape, does need to be examined as well.
I think just given all that we know about this issue, we really need to get out in front of it. We know the prevalence of ash dieback and its inevitable impact on roadside trees. A targeted scheme, I think, would also serve a proactive measure to encourage landowners to engage in inspections and address risks before they become dangerous. There's, I think, larger issues with the approach to the situation as well. Even the improvements to the interim reconstruction scheme for ash dieback don't cover the full costs associated with clearing and replanting affected sites, or the financial loss incurred by farmers, or compensate for the loss of timber earnings. Also, you spoke about in a previous question to Deputy Curran about the exemptions from licensing for the felling of the impacted trees. I'm just wondering what you were saying, if there was an exemption that could cause environmental damages, if there was an exemption from getting a license to fell the ones that are infected by ash dieback. And I'm just wondering if there's a danger with a tree at risk and there's a delay in the licensing for the felling, what kind of, how much has the department looked into that situation? Would it be like even sped up the licensing system for a situation like that, or what research has been done in relation to the need for, or the potential for that?
That's Word Minister.
I suppose any farmer wishing to apply for the Rust scheme will submit a licence for that. That is part of the process to avail of the scheme. Part of that will be the felling licence element of it. Look, I think if anyone has, significant concerns about any real threat or danger in a very short term, I mean, they certainly could reach out to the department and highlight that. I think there's a lot of people in the same boat here, unfortunately. I suppose just maybe going back to the original points about the sort of widespread nature of this. I mean, Teagasc are doing work, to try and identify species. Some trees might be resistant to ash dieback, and it potentially maybe 1 or 2%. But it would be sort of nice as well, because we do need the expertise in terms of, look, anyone who's seen it can clearly identify it, but if you have a tree that doesn't look like it has it, perhaps it could be resistant to it, and I think we need to look at that as well, because if there is a 1 or 2% of trees out there that will be resistant, it would be great to actually, mind those.
Moving on to the next.